Very privileged today to have with us Patti Floyd, the assistant, again, executive director, with us today with Carpenter's Place, and she's going to be our keynote today. Let's give her a warm Calvary welcome.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me. You are a very welcoming church, I have to say. So sometimes I sit somewhere and no one sees me or says anything. So it's very nice to have a welcoming church to come to. So Al Barcema knew what it was like to live on the streets. He had addictions. He suffered from homelessness. And it was because of his experience and God's loving grace that he knew he wanted to help others. So in Mark 25:40, it states, "Truly I tell you, whatever you did for the one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me." And Al understood that very well. He walked the streets and stopped and talked with the homeless. He went into the camps of the homeless, and he shared his story, and he started building relationships. And then in 2000, Al and his wife, Kathy, founded Carpenter's Place, providing a day center where homeless adults could find peace from the environment. They were away from the elements of the weather and the dangers of the street. A place where they could engage socially and that they could learn to trust, which is a big thing in the homeless community. The program grew way beyond that. So our mission at Carpenter's Place is Carpenter's Place provides the tools for rebuilding the lives of the homeless and families in crisis. Inspired by Christ's compassion, Carpenter's Place offers direction with accountability to people with broken lives, helping them find peace with God, themselves, and their communities. At Carpenter's Place, we refer to all those we serve as guests. So when I say guests, that's what I'm talking about. Our program is based on offering practical services centered around professional, holistic, and goal-orientated case management. That's our big part of our program. Case managers, they meet with the guests to work on a life recovery plan. And part of that is they meet, I think, the first time for maybe an hour, hour and a half, and they go through these 14 different stages or areas of life. So, for instance, identification. All of us, at one time or another, you need to have some type of ID card, driver's license, and so they start with that. Some of them don't even have a birth certificate. They have to go way back. Some of them, they have to figure out where they were born, so it sometimes can be very consuming. They talk about relationships, how their family life is. Do they see family? Do they have friends? Are they living with someone? Do they have a spouse or partner? They talk about health and mental health issues, which is prevalent here, and we hook them up with various organizations in the area. Addictions, sport groups, trying to get them involved in that. Education. Do they have an education? Where did they last leave off? You know, for some, it's helping them get their transcripts brought in if they'd like to go further. Housing, that's a big one right now. In Rockford, it's very tight with housing, and it's expensive to live now. You know, many of us know that, how expensive it can live. So helping them with that, with getting housing. I would say about more than half our guests are sleeping on the streets on a regular basis, and the other, they couch hop. So by someone's loving arms, they let them in, and then when they get tired of them, they go to the next house, and so on. So it kind of goes on and on. They talk about their belongings. What are you bringing with you? What do you have? Their employment, transportation, which is another big barrier for homeless, because even if you have a job, you need to be able to get there. So we try to offer bus passes. We also have a wonderful program called Cycles for Change, and our guests can come in and do a couple hours of community service. They're helping us maybe clean floors, whatever we need at the time, and they can earn a bike for transportation, and they get a lock and a light. And then they also address things like legal issues. If you have any legal issues, that may be stopping someone from moving forward. So trying to help them get to that. And then, of course, recreation things we do and our spiritual side of things. So every guest must meet with their case manager at a minimum of every 60 days in order to stay in the program. And while they are working in the area, we offer lots and lots of things. So we have breakfast, mid-morning snack, and lunch every day, Monday through Friday. Guests can earn a bin, and just a big, huge bin, so they can keep their belongings there. So they don't have to carry everything with them all day long. So if they have a winter coat that they had for the winter, they can store it away for a while. They can sign up and get a shower. Can you imagine being outside all the time and not being able to shower? They can have an address, because in order for them to get housing, in order for them to get a job, you have to have an address. So they can get mail service there. We also have volunteers come in, and they can sign up and get their laundry done, for examples. But we also provide basic needs, such things as clean socks and underwear, gym shoes in the warm weather, winter boots in the cold weather, different things depending on the time of year. Winter coats we'll be collecting soon, with scarves and hats and warm gloves. And then, of course, personal care items. We always have those available, too. And then we like to do things throughout the year that are a little bit more fun, kind of goes into the recreational part of it. And also volunteer-based. So we have people come in and give them a haircut. We have a new young man who, it's like going to a spa when you go in there, and it's just lovely for someone to be able to experience that. We have a couple, actually, and they come in and they do arts and crafts once a week. And that people nobody has to go to any of these special events. We encourage it. We think it's part of healing sometimes, depending on your love languages, but we encourage it, but nobody's required to do anything. We have devotions. Right now we're doing it 3 mornings a week, about 11:30, right before lunch, and we hope to go back to 5 days. Things kind of slowed down after COVID, as I'm sure everything had here at one time too, I'm sure. And we've had support groups, and we're hoping to open up Bible studies again, because we've kind of got a few of our people who did it before COVID have since then decided it was time to step away. So we're working on that. And we do fun things. So last week we had something extremely fun. We had Stephen Cady. He's a musician out of Nashville, and he has a giving guitar tour. And he goes across the country and chooses homeless shelters, and I think children's shelters also. And he comes and he gives a little concert, and then he gives a guitar, because he feels like music can be a part of the healing. So he actually gives us a guitar, signs it, and then our guests can check it out, which is kind of nice. And we have quite a few that are pretty good at playing the guitar, or they can learn now with everything online. So it's a lot easier to learn. So those are some of the things that we do. Some of our guests come from loving families, and they just, for whatever way, got in with the wrong group. Maybe they got addicted by different things they've done. Others didn't grow up with a great family life. So we try to bring some of those special things that you do as a family to them. For instance, once a month we celebrate the birthdays of the month. And we sing, and we have a cake or cupcakes, and they get just a little gift. Other things we do, we try to make every holiday special. Sometimes it's just a little goodie bag. Christmas, it's big. We do the 12 days of giveaways, and we have something little each day. Most of it's very practical, but we do have a day of opening gifts, and we have another group that comes in, a family that does bingo and gives them lots and lots of gifts. So it really does make it special, and especially when someone comes up and says, "Do I have to open it here?" See, this gets to me. This will be my only gift. And so, it kind of breaks your heart when you hear people don't have, I grew up very sheltered, so it's a whole new world for me when I came here 8 years ago. But as we started to see things over the 20 plus years we've been there, we're starting to see families, multiple family members coming. And so it got us thinking that maybe we needed to do more. So in 2018, we expanded our programs to include family services with children, families with minor children. And as I shared, some of the guests in our day center didn't grow up with a very good family life. And so what the program is trying to give families the tools to become stronger, healthier families. So besides our day center, we also have 5 transitional housing. And what transitional means is it's up to 2 years, so that you can kind of begin to work at rebuilding your life. And then some right away, they get jobs, they save, they budget, everything goes smoothly. Others, it's the whole 2 years and sometimes extended. So we try everything we can to keep them to go to the next step. We have a women's program. We have a mental health program, and that's for guests who have been diagnosed with a mental health diagnosis. We have a vet house program. We also have that vet house program. It's a house we own, and sometimes there's not a lot of vets maybe that we'll be using because the government now has vouchers for the vets, which is great. They started that program quite a few years ago. So we never want to leave a space open too. So if we have an opening, a veteran has first call on it, but if not, we will fill it with another man. And then we have Success House, and those are people, the men who are employable or are employed, but maybe they just still need a little help because they haven't gotten to that next level of saving for a place to live and things like that. And then we have our family service housing. We also have a permanent housing program, and these are for those who have been chronically homeless and have some form of disability. So God, Carpenter's Place bases its programs all on accountability. 2 Corinthians 6:16 says, "As God has said, I will dwell in them and walk among them. I will be their God, and they shall be my people." We can't do the work for somebody, but like Jesus, we can walk alongside each of them. Now, that's the basics of Carpenter's Place, just kind of the nuts and bolts, not the exciting part, but that's what we do. But what's the fun part is hearing the successes of our guests. And so I'm going to share two stories, a little bit about two of our guests, because success is different for every person. For some, it's a small step of success, and some go far. So one of them, Dean, he actually was in our permanent housing program. He lost both his parents within 6 months of each other when he was a young boy. And I think he had, I want to say 8 siblings. There were 8 total. So many of them were put into various orphanages, and he also was moved around a lot, as well as he was in some mental health facilities, as he does have a mental health disability. As an adult, he worked many jobs, but he did find himself homeless. Dean wanted to change his life, and he was a new believer, and he believed God sent him to Carpenter's Place. He worked hard with a case manager. He built a relationship with a volunteer that to this day they still have. He's a mentor for Dean, and he invites him over for family dinners on holidays. It's just beautiful. And then he eventually landed in our permanent housing program. So he can stay there for the duration. However, he is able to sustain a very simple but comfortable life. And so he has actually moved on and exited the program, but he still has the same apartment that he did before. And he's just happy, just a happy, God-loving man. And he still comes back. He comes back to listen to our devotions. He still checks in with the case manager to let him know where he's at. He still has his mentor who I think they go out and he helps them with budgeting and all those things that, you need to learn as you're growing, and didn't have role models for him. And then what he does is he stops in and picks up some of our little Bibles that we get, and he brings them out on the streets. He loves to sit at the bus stop in I almost said Elgin, in Rockford, and he sets them there, and sometimes he leaves a couple because he knows someone tonight will be sleeping there and they will get to hear the Word of God. And so that is his whole focus right now, is letting people know what Carpenter's Place did for him and how God brought him along the way. He's got such a beautiful heart. In our next newsletter, we're going to share about Albert, and Albert's success was a little bit different. So he was in prison, and when he was released, he found himself homeless and hungry. But he also already knew he did not want to go back. He wanted to change his life, and through another organization, I believe, he found himself at Carpenter's Place. He met with a case manager and never looked back. Today, he has his own HVAC business. He is now a plumbing journeyman for Local 23, and he also does some light electric work. His goal in life is to be a beacon of hope to the next guy, which is already what he started. He started just now being a new volunteer with us and sharing, and he wants to share his story and his faith and how it brought him along, and hopefully to inspire someone. 1 Peter 4:10-11 states, "Each of you should use whatever gift you have received to serve others as faithful stewards of God's grace in its various forms. Do not be slothful in zeal, but be fervent in spirit. Serve the Lord." And that is exactly what Dean and and Albert do today. That's how they live their life. In 2023, Carpenter's Place, we kind of went into a new venture and we opened up our thrift store. I don't know if you know where it is. It's on Rural at 5 Points Road. Because we are continually blessed with an abundance of items. And not all of them our guests can use. So we take what we need for our guests. No guest ever has to pay for anything. I want to always make that clear. So we take what we need, or if we need something more, we go and get it. And then the rest we sell, and 100% stays at Carpenter's Place. It also, the nice part about having the store is we've been able to employ some of our guests who are rebuilding their lives, and that's been a joy to watch. And it's a good place for training because there's a little bit more than just getting a job. You have to know that you have to get up every morning. You have to be on time. All those things that some people just have never learned or had a good role model for. So it's been a good ministry in that as well. Next year, we'll be celebrating 25 years of helping homeless adults rebuild their lives. This is this is in part because of the powerful partnerships we have in the community. We cannot do that without the support we get in the Rockford area and Belvedere, and we've got a few other local areas around. I want to thank you for inviting me here to share about Carpenter's Place. I was just telling Pastor Steve, that it's been over 17 years that Calvary Christian has been a part of our church partnership. They've done everything from collections to, Pastor did devotions for us, to meals, to monetary, and so it just ran the whole gambit, but that's a long time to be a partner with someone, and so we truly, truly are grateful for that. One of my favorite verses is Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. That is what I want our guests to know each and every day. We do not have any religious requirements at CP. We meet people where they are. However, we are always finding ways to plant seeds. We may not always see those seeds grow, but we know God has a plan for everyone who enters our facility. Thank you so much for letting me share. Okay, thank you.
I would like to ask a couple of people to stand up. Patty, if you could continue standing for just a moment, representing Carpenter's Place. But we have Dan Augustine here from the camp, from Rock River Christian Camp. We're glad to have him with us. Tom Hartley is here representing Gideon's today. We're so glad that Tom is here. And we have Lori Sy all the way from Texas, with Builders Without Borders from Texas, who again partners with us with our children's program and our children's home in Kenbay Fem in Haiti. And so we're so glad to have them here representing those missions. And we encourage you, before you leave today, certainly, to visit those various displays out there and just ask any questions with representatives that you might have. I've actually been connected with Carpenter's Place for 20 years. It was shortly after I arrived here that they contacted me, and I'm sure a lot of other people asking for pastors to come and do devotionals. And I did those for, about 18, 19 years. It's just about a year ago that I had to give that up. But again, what a wonderful, wonderful partnership we've had with you guys. I just appreciate that. So give her another hand. Thank you. Thank you.